Hey friends, it's Ryan Frank. I'm joined by Amy Bates. Good morning, Amy. How are you?
Morning. Good morning.
Hey, what's the weather like where you're at?
Well, it's not as cold as I wish it would be because it's December and it should be cold, right?
Yeah,
And we're supposed to get hit with a lot of rain today and tomorrow. So,
gotcha.
yeah.
Well, thanks for joining me on the coffee chat, everybody who's with us on Facebook or the podcast or YouTube today. Glad that you're here. Thank you. Hey, you've made it to Friday. Congratulations.
Woo.
Woohoo. And I'm excited to talk with Amy Bates. Now, Amy has been on the coffee chat with me before. Amy and her husband Mike are dear friends of our ministry, and they've been a part of Kidman Academy, been a part of MegaCon. Mike and Amy were at Kids Matter HQ. That was really before the COVID hit, wasn't
That was right before. So I'm glad we got that
it?
in.
It was for a Kidman veteran retreat. And I'm excited to have her with us on the coffee chat. Amy's an active part of the I Love Kidmen Facebook community. She's doing some great stuff at her church, New Hanover United Methodist Church. Now, where's New Hanover United Methodist Church?
So we're in Pennsylvania, so northwest of Philly. So Gilbertsville is the little tiny rural area. But yeah.
Now, is that home for you?
No.
Okay.
Home for me is Texas.
Texas. Okay.
Yes.
And when did you guys move to Pennsylvania?
We have been here since 1999. And before that, we lived in Memphis, Tennessee. But I am from Texas and I claim my Texas roots.
And you do. We love Texas. That's cool. So it's been a crazy year, hasn't it, Amy?
Crazy.
I don't know what the best word to use to describe 2020 is, but man, crazy, weird.
Yes.
Unprecedented.
Strange.
And before we went live on the coffee chat, Amy, you were saying that you guys had gone back to re-shut down. You did online only for 3 weeks. This Sunday, you're coming back. Mm-hmm. So you went to online only 3 weeks ago because why?
So we had several staff members, of which I was one of them, who had COVID. Yeah.
Gotcha.
So we had enough staff members that we needed to shut down. So we're back in person this week and we're very excited.
Good. So I know that there have been all kinds of challenges that 2020 has brought all of us as pastors and ministry leaders, as parents, grandparents. As you look back, Amy, on 2020, what do you think is the biggest challenge or one of the biggest challenges you faced as a Kidman leader?
Well, there's a couple. And the first one to me is sort of a no-brainer. Mm-hmm. We know that church is not the four walls. We know that, but I feel like pre-COVID, even though I knew church wasn't four walls, I was operating only in four walls, except for a few events.
Yeah.
And so one of the biggest challenges for me was, how do I do what I'm supposed to do, not in the four walls? And I'll be quite honest, I was paralyzed for about the first 2 weeks and in a funk, and I was like, what am I going to do? So we are one of the largest churches in our area, but I'm not very tech savvy. So we have a great technical arts team for our sanctuary and our chapel. But downstairs, we're a 2-story building. Downstairs in Kidman, we're not that tech savvy. And so it was easy. We had already gone virtual as a church. We were already offering live streaming pre-COVID. And so it was easy for them. For me, I was like, how do I do this? And hopefully my husband, who is one of my unpaid staff members in Kidman, he is a businessman and he knows how to do Zoom, and he's fairly, pretty good technology wise. And so he helped me, but I was paralyzed for about the first 2 weeks, just like, and like everybody who thought it would be December and we're still here
Yeah,
doing
that's it. Nobody thought that.
and
No.
so I thought, 1 week I can go and not do anything. Then 2 weeks, I'm like, well, I need to start figuring something out. And thank goodness for this I Love Kidman community, because I am not the most creative person, but I am pretty good at looking at what people are doing and going, I might be able to make that work, make a few tweaks, put my own spin on it for our church. And so for this community, I'm forever grateful, because almost everything that I've been doing has been a variation of what somebody else who's very creative has done. So that's probably one of the things. And the other big challenge for me was I thought I was connected with the parents, and I quickly found out I was not connected with the parents. So figuring out ways to do, really, in my opinion, what I should have been doing all along, which was having the parents own the discipleship of their children. And I still struggle with that. And so those have been two big things: is how do I do church the way we're really supposed to do church, is be Christ outside the church?
Mm-hmm.
And how do I give parents the tools in their toolbox? Some parents don't even have a toolbox yet. And some parents have a toolbox with a few tools, and some parents have a toolbox with more tools than I would ever think of putting in their toolbox. But how do I do that for everybody? And it hasn't been easy, but we're doing it. We're getting there.
You're doing a great job. So on that first point, those are two good things that God really or challenges that God helped you with. One, the whole tech side of things. So to help you, so let's talk about that one for just a minute. So to help you kind of get through that, you leaned in on people like your husband, Mike.
Right.
And then you just kind of put yourself out there and started trying new things.
I did. So I noticed that a lot of people quickly went to Zoom, and but they were doing, which is, there's no right or wrong. I think that's what I want everybody to know. There's no right or wrong. There's some things that maybe you don't need to do again, right? And there's some things that worked for you that might not work for other people. But what I saw, and what the easiest thing to do at first, was just replicate what you've been doing, but just put it on Zoom. And I knew that wasn't going to work for us. And so the first thing we did was we just started doing, because we shut down right around Holy Week, Easter, Palm Sunday, Easter. So we were able to do some things where it was just us putting content out. And then we decided that let's go through Zoom and let's connect individually with families. And so we scheduled 30-minute Zoom calls with the kids, which by far, Mike and I were talking last night, was the funnest thing. We're getting ready to bring that back, because I have a feeling we're going to be back.
Yeah,
so we did 30-minute calls with just kids, and it became one of the most fun things we did. And we got to know a lot of kids the way you would never get to know them in a large group environment or even in a classroom setting. And so we just started tweaking that and doing things. And I would see things on the I Love Kidman Facebook group and go, oh, I could make that work. And so that's really the only technology. Now, when we started back virtually at the end of the summer, we started doing, we would just, through Zoom, like what we're doing, we're on Zoom, but it's on Facebook. And so that Sunday experience, now we have a lot of families that are not coming back right now, but they are connected, right, with the church. And so we just broadcast just with one camera, nothing like what our online streaming is doing in the sanctuary. We're in the chapel and socially distanced, and so we just broadcast that. But I think the biggest thing that has helped us is the first Sunday we did it, it was just pretty boring. And then I realized, in big church, we have an online host that interacts. So now we have a host that interacts with our kiddos that are watching us online. And that has been one of the biggest things for me, is realizing that I have two audiences now on Sundays. I have my in-person audience, and I have a virtual audience that I have to interact with. And so I'm not young. This is not, technology is not easy for me, but we're getting it all figured out.
I love it that so many of the things that we've talked about for a long time is in the children's community, things like, hey, we really need to do more with digital and technology. And what you just said a minute ago, we need to really get to know kids one-on-one. And then the other big challenge you face, equipping parents. Forever we've talked about really making parents the primary spiritual leaders at home.
Absolutely.
It's crazy how this pandemic has really forced us to do a lot of this stuff that we've talked about for years, and can maybe be some of the silver lining of what otherwise would be something that we never want to repeat.
Right. I was sitting with a couple of our staff members a while ago, and we were talking about, this really, okay, so it has been bad. Yes, I did get sick recently. And it really challenged us and stretched us. And so a lot, and I say us, meaning the whole Kidman community, right? Some of us have really, are really shining, and some of us are sort of in a funk, and some of us just really are stuck and we don't know what to do. I mean, there's a whole myriad of where we all are on that spectrum.
Yeah.
But I can say this forced me to really do what I should have been doing. And I kick myself sometimes going, why weren't we doing some of this, right? But again, I got stuck in that I'm in the building. I do this, I'm doing stuff. Again, always some other events outside, but it was primarily for the people that come to the building, right?
Yes.
Having to figure out how to do other things. It's like, this isn't a bad thing. And in fact, Mike and I were laughing. So somebody on, now I should have looked at the name, was doing a Fort Fellowship, and they did an Advent edition. And I saw that and went, oh, how perfect is that, right? And so we started this past Sunday night. And is it extra work? Yes. Is it on a time when I normally don't work? Yes. We are still doing birthday drive-bys. The team that goes with me, we were laughing, going, in a couple of months, we will have done everybody's birthday. And we'll
Isn't that crazy?
Birthday. I cannot believe that's going to happen. And Mike and I were, in the team, we were saying, we're doing things, first of all, that we probably should have been doing. I don't know that I'm going to stop this.
Yeah, that's a
First
good
of all,
point.
I'm not sure that our church is I'm not sure that any church is going to fully recover from, I think, and just like Carrie Newhoff says, and I read him every day, what a blessing he is. Yes, what a futuristic thinker, right? So there are going to be people that are going to be in our building, and we need to honor that. But our reach is further reaching now because we are in the virtual field, and we've got to this isn't going to stop. And so a lot of things that we're doing, it's like, it brings such joy to families when you take the time to do a 10-minute drive-by. And whether it's to drop something off or to do a birthday drive-by, or somebody, had a broken arm and you want to celebrate their pink cast, and sign your name on their cast, you don't get that in the four walls of the church. And I just don't know that we're going to stop this. And so we're doing more. It just looks different, and it's kind of fun.
Yeah, I love that. I think you're right, Amy. A lot of this stuff, if we're smart, it's easy to, I think, as church leaders, to think we got to get back to normal. How can we get back to normal? Get back to normal, get back to normal. But I hope that we all really pause and evaluate, like, what was effective. And it's just like your drive-by birthday things. I mean, kids love their birthdays. And how special is that you come by and stop
And
by?
we don't even give them a gift.
You
I
just,
mean,
yeah,
we're just driving by. Mike loves to honk the horn,
yeah,
and we just hold a little thing. We stop, we get out, we take a selfie, and we just talk about them for, 5 minutes or 20 minutes if the parents are out and they want to visit. It's sort of like that. It's an outreach. It's not just
it is.
Kidman. It is because typically there's a team with me, and our associate pastor loves to go with us. And so he's connecting with the parents. It's just this thing that's like, that's what church is. And I don't know that we can stop that.
Yeah, I think you're right. And by the way, I'm sure it doesn't just mean something to the kids, but it's got to mean something to mom and dad too.
Absolutely.
That you did that.
Absolutely.
Now, Amy, you were part of Kidman Academy. What class were you in?
I was in 7.
Kidman Academy, class 7.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Tell us about your Kidman Academy experience.
So I had been seeing maybe a year and a half about Kidman Academy, and I was like, I don't know that I want to do that, right?
Yeah.
But I do love to learn. I think when you stop learning, you're done, right? So I do love to learn, but I just kept thinking, I don't know if I have the time. At that time, not Kidman 7, but like the year and a half before, I was part-time, and I'm like, I don't know that I want to invest all of this and all this. And then I went full-time on staff, and I started realizing that there were a lot of people out there that were experts in their fields, and I needed to learn some things. Mm-hmm. So I was actually on, I don't know, it was something that Kidman was doing.
Okay.
I won one of the a couple of $100 off.
Okay.
And so I'm like, well, this is a sign. I'm doing this because it's not cheap, but
no, it's not.
But you get out of things what you put into them, and there's a price to learning, and there's a price to sit at the feet of people who are experts. And so I went, well, that's a sign. I'm going to do this. I talked to my pastor, and he's like, go for it. And so I did it, and the best thing I did. Mm-hmm. And here's why. I'm not really good at networking. And so I tend to be very, very shy. And so I'm not good at networking. So this automatically gave me a leg up in networking, because every month, and some months it was, some modules you had, a Facebook with one expert, but you were reading a book from somebody else, and then, and you were watching a video. So it was more than just one expert a month in some months. And so I got to know some of the names I already knew, but I didn't really know them. So I felt like, oh, I know them, kind of like Elf with Santa, like I know him, right?
Yes.
And so it made me, and then the other thing that I loved about Kidman Academy is it made me realize that I do know what I'm doing in some areas, which was a big confidence booster for me. And so I thought, okay, so the special needs one, I have a really great school teacher on our Kidman team who is bent towards, so she doesn't teach special ed. She's not a special needs teacher, but she's bent that way. And she had been like a year before I started Kidman Academy, she is like, God is telling me we need to do this. And so we did it, and she leads that. And so all this time I was thinking, are we doing it right? Do we really? And then it was the month of special needs, and I went, oh, we know what we're doing. And then I was able to share with her, here's someone else that you can reach out to. So I have to laugh about this. And so, you don't have to do all 12. And I had set up, like, I'm doing all 12. I paid for 12 months. I'm doing all 12. But the month that was Sean Sweet and preteens, I was like, it was not a good month for me. This was a year that my dad had just passed away. My mother was deteriorating quickly, and I needed to go to Texas and just be there. I'm like, I'm not going to do this month, and it's no big deal. I don't really care about preteens.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So I didn't do that assignment. I didn't turn that month's assignment in, but I went back and I watched and I went, oh, he's good. And I need to pick his brain.
Yeah.
So I went back and I read the book. I just didn't do the assignments. We went to MegaCon for the first time, and Mike came with me, and we did the entire, like we only did
that preteen
track.
Yeah.
And I would not have done that had I not been in Kidman Academy. And he's the one that I'm like, yeah, I'm not doing that.
Isn't that crazy?
And we started a preteen ministry during COVID.
How neat.
Because of Sean Sweet, and because they were doing all their preteen stuff, their 4, 5, 6 stuff through Zoom. We tagged on in the summer, and we have started a preteen ministry, which was one of my goals for the year. But I'm like, there's no way I can do this because we're quarantined.
That's
so Academy, yeah, learning, connecting with other people, realizing you do know some things, and realizing I know nothing about this, but Kidman Academy gives you, I can't think of the word, entry into, like I can talk to Jessica Beeler and say, okay, tell me about this. I can talk to Tina Hauser and say, I'm struggling with this, and how do I do this? Where I never would have done that had I not been in Kidman.
That's a good point. Thanks for sharing all that. Man, you gave me goosebumps talking about how God used Sean Sweet. Isn't it something how God works, how a lot of times the blessings and the gifts come from such unexpected areas. Here you're thinking, this, I don't need this. And then God uses his message in that track at MegaCon, and boom, you started this new preteen ministry.
Right.
And that is a great ministry. If you're not familiar with it, it's 456.org, I think.
Org or something, I think.
And you have to spell it out, FOURFIVESIX.com or .org. I think it's .org. They have great curriculum and resources to help you. And you signed up for Kidman Academy Excel, which I'm excited about, Amy.
I did. Our
brand new year 2 program that we're going to start in January, where it's a full another 12 months, all new faculty, all new books, all new classes. We're excited about that. Glad to have you part of that. Amy, in our last 2 minutes, would you give a closing word of encouragement to all the Kidman leaders listening today? You've already been so encouraging, but if you're going to give one last word of encouragement, what would it be?
So it's twofold. One is, no matter what happens, God has got this. Yep. And you know, no matter what you try, God's going to make sure that, you get through this. But here's my big thing. And I think I said this back in May when Mike and I were on with you.
Yeah.
You do you. And so there are people that have fabulous sets, and people that have fabulous facilities, and people that have great technology and teams. And then there are people that they may only have 2 kids, right? Yeah. You do you. And so you figure out what works for you, and not just what works for you, but what's working for your families. And you continue to do that. So for us, it's the rather simple things, but it makes them feel connected. It makes them feel like they're a part of something bigger. And so you do you. Now, that doesn't mean to not stretch yourself, because if I hadn't stretched myself, we wouldn't be where we are. And I think we're in a pretty decent place. Mm-hmm. But you have to, don't look at somebody else and go, oh, I wish we could be like that, right? You look at them and you go, okay, what of that can I use and can I tweak that would fit my parents, that would fit the children that I serve, that would fit our church? and you do you. Don't be anybody else. But again, that's that whole Kidman Academy, and I'm excited about Excel, is you get entry into the next level to people that this is their job, right?
Yeah.
And so, you know, this is my job, but I do lots of other things, and I'm not a spring chicken, right? And so it's like I need to be training up the next people that are going to take over. And so you do you, and know that God is in control, and you need to figure out how you're going to step into his plan, even when we're not meeting in church.
It's Amy Bates. Amy, that was a great way to wrap us up. You be you. You be you. I'm convinced one of the biggest traps we can fall in is when we start comparing ourselves to others, or we think I don't have what it takes. Hey, God made you and he created you exactly the way he wanted you to be for the task that he's put in front of you. Be you and lean in on this community in the process. Amy's an active part of the I Love Kidman Facebook community. I know she would love to chat. If you ever had any questions or anything, just send her a Facebook message. You can find her in the I Love Kidman Facebook group.
Yep.
Amy, this was a treat. Thank you so much for your time today.
You're welcome. And thank you. And I do want to say this, one of the other big takeaways is that I had always watched you. And so now it's like, now I get to call you my friend.
You do, don't you?
That was Kidman Academy. Like, to
That's
me, you were just like all the other people that were, you know, experts in their fields. And it's like, now, like, I've been in your house, right?
You have. You just
have another veteran thing.
That's it. That's right.
My favorite thing of all.
Oh, that was so fun. I can't wait for all this to get passed so we can do more stuff like that.
No.
All right. Tell Mike I said hi, Amy.
I will.
And everyone who's tuned in today, thank you so much. Have a wonderful weekend. We will be back Monday for another coffee chat. Have a great day.